Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I was listening to Eric this morning, and I think I was one of those 20 guys at the first one 8 years ago, but it was on top of the LCBO building, if I recall right, so it worked out well at the end of the day, that's for sure. RNC Minerals, I've been here now for about just 60 days, actually, so it's been an exciting 60 days, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about some of the changes that have happened in the last 60 days. This slide here, actually, I've been joking a bit about it all day long, actually, the new high-quality company. Just this slide alone I can talk about for 20 minutes, actually. The company for the last 10 years has been a nickel-focused company. In the last 60 to 90 days, as a board, we've made a decision to change our strategy and make sure that it's very well known that we're in control and our strategy is going to be focused on producing gold. We're going to focus on our Western Australian assets while we still own 28% of Dumont in Quebec, and we think it's a great asset. And let's face it, nickel has had a good run here. We're quite excited about it. There's no urgency for us to sell off Dumont. We should take our time and do what's best for our shareholders, but we don't own it all. We're not in control of that asset. We own 28%. We own the rest of these assets in Western Australia, and with the recent addition of the mill that I'll talk about, you'll see the change in focus and how the company is really setting ourselves up for our future. Obviously myself as new CEO, as I just mentioned, we've also put in a new management team. I'll talk specifically about the management team and who those people are. We're increasing production at both of our operations. We now have 2 operations in Western Australia. We've got the Higginsville asset, which we acquired in June, but we've got Beta Hunt. And Beta Hunt, a lot of people have been pretty excited. They've seen a lot of the specimens throughout the last year since the original discovery. I'm happy to report on the weekend, again, we ran into some more of those specimens. They're really constrained by geology, and we're mining along that geological formation. We're drifting along it. We haven't taken any stopes out of those areas. And again, we encountered about 1,750 ounces in half a ton. So you're talking about $4.5 million in half a ton. So it's quite exciting. The plan, though, I will say, is squarely focused on making sure that we can mine that deposit economically at the average grade. This is really critical. It's very important to us. We've got to demonstrate that we can produce a mine plan, produce a resource to be reserved, and mine that asset economically at the average grade, and that's what we're actually in the process of doing. We've got an improved balance sheet. We just did a financing of $18 million. It was a bought deal. It was oversubscribed. There's predominantly 5 institutions carried that whole book, and that's another change for this company. A lot of our shareholder base has been retail. We're excited that we've got 5 new institutions, new shareholders to our story that are long and believe in what we're doing, actually. We're on the GDXJ. That happened at the end of June because of the amount of liquidity we got. We've been added to the GDXJ. It actually impacted us negatively on our close last Friday because of the rebalance. So that has its upswings, but it also has its downswings when your market cap drops. So that was a negative impact that we had from it. Our production, we're new into production. We've just began production, and it's about making sure we consistently sustain our production at this point. For the first month ever of owning our own mill, we did just under 8,000 ounces in the month of July. So remember, this is a company that didn't have its own mill. It was producing and using toll milling. In the first half of 2019, our production came from Beta Hunt alone. It was just shy of 14,000 ounces for the first 6 months of the year. Since owning our mill, July we did just shy of 8,000 ounces, 7,800, and in August we did another 8,100. So 16,000 ounces in 2 months compared to 14,000 in the first half of the year. So you're seeing the change in focus from nickel to gold, but also the change with the addition of the mill is hugely different in this company. Yeah. Some of the things that you can expect from us in the very near future RNC has never put out guidance ever, not on production, not on all-in sustaining costs, ever. We're about to put out our first 2P reserve in gold. We've had some in the nickel, obviously, from Dumont. We're going to put out guidance here for the rest of the year, then guidance for 2020, like the rest of the companies, in the new year. But these are all, they're big steps for this company who hasn't done it before. I'll talk about the cost-cutting measures. We should all be doing that. We have a lot of low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, and you'll see some of them here on one of my last slides. And then the ASX listing, that's an opportunity we're assessing. We believe because we're located in Australia, there's a lot of funds that want to participate in our financings or actually want to buy the stock. Forget the financings. We're done with the financings. We're happy about that. But people want to buy our stock. There's funds that struggle to buy on the TSX that it makes it more amenable to be listed on the ASX. So something we're seriously evaluating. So as I talked about myself, I'm the former president and CEO of Klondike. I was there from 2012 to 2018. I had several different opportunities to look at and explore, obviously, before I joined RNC. RNC, I felt like, was the one that I could make the most meaningful impact and where I can add the most value with my experience. And throughout the day I've been asked, well, why bring a Canadian to Australia? And that's a good question. Actually, one of the first moves I did as CEO was hire Graham Sloan. Graham Sloan is an Australian. He's from the area. He knows the ground. He knows the district. He was actually the CEO of Perseverance. He built Fosterville. I don't think that needs an introduction. It's been discussed for the last while. Kirkland has done phenomenal with it. But he was the CEO from 2002 to 2007 for Perseverance. He was also the CEO of Tanami and Herentia. He's got an excellent track record in Western Australia. The first thing that Graham did was bring in 2 other people. He brought in 2 new GMs. We're already seeing some tremendous results from that. Very, very early on, we're seeing one metric alone, actually, if I think of a turnover rate. Before Graham and his team came along, our turnover rate in Western Australia was like a revolving door, actually. We were having about 86% turnover rate. In all my career, I've been underground for 33 years. I started in Timmins and I was a bad hockey player, so I got to go to mine at 18. I've never seen turnover rates this high in my life. Since Graham has been appointed managing director and is responsible for all Australia, we're already seeing that metric on its own drop down to below 19%. He's brought in a whole network, a whole group of people that he's surrounded himself by, including these 2 new GMs who also have a network that makes it so much easier for us to be more effective in Western Australia. In June, we closed this deal on the Higginsville asset, and I just want to explain the Higginsville asset. I'll flip between 2 slides here because that's a picture of the mill. The mill was built in 2009. It was $100 million to build the mill. We paid $50 million Australian for Higginsville, the mill and the mine. The mill is 1.4 million tons per year, about 4,000 tons a day. It's at capacity already. We are one of the few mills in that area. It used to be doing some toll milling. We don't have any room for toll milling now. We're filling the mill at capacity from the ore between Higginsville and from Beta Hunt. So what did we get for the $50 million? We didn't only get the mill, but we also got a really nice open pit that was bought in 2018 by the West Gold, the people who sold us the asset, and they paid $9 million for this open pit. It's called Baloo. The average grade of Baloo has been over 2.2 gram. We're in it mining now. When West Gold bought it in 2018, they permitted it, they put in a road, but they never got it into production. Our timing was perfect for this asset. Our strategy was clear, our timing was good, and then right after we got it, obviously gold did what it did. We're seeing the benefits, all of us are seeing it today. So we got the Baloo open pit that we're presently mining, 2.2 gram. We got the mill. We also got this large land package. Included in the land package is 1.9 million ounces of resource at about 2 gram, and then a reserve of 367,000 ounces. That's going to be the use of some of our proceeds that we just did with the recent financing. We're going to be drilling at both Higginsville and Beta Hunt, not to grow our resource. We've got about, in measured, indicated, and inferred, over 3 million ounces in this district, in about 60 square kilometer. What we're going to be doing is increasing our confidence in putting it into 2B reserve and putting about 2 years of feed in front of the mill over the next while here with that new drilling that we're going to be doing here. So 1.9 million ounces from the land. If you assign 50% of the value of the purchase price towards the mill, you get a mill that was $100 million for $25 million. You assign the other $25 million for the ounces here. That's about $13 an ounce Australian per acquisition cost. But God, we all know the cost to drill an ounce of gold. Try to go drill it with a drill bit or however you're finding it. It was costing me anywhere from $35 to $45 an ounce in Nevada, US, to find an ounce of gold. These acquisition costs of buying 1.9 million ounces plus the mill plus Blue was very accretive for us and our shareholders. We're quite excited about what this unlocks for our future. It really sets us on a really clear path of being a producer. We're on a very good run rate here at the 8,000 ounces per month already. Just like everyone else in the industry, we're aggressively focused on reducing costs. And we know that's a responsibility we have as an executive team. How are we doing it? First and foremost, obviously the synergies with the mill, I've talked about them, but here are some of the numbers. It was costing us anywhere from $45 to $50 a ton to toll treat. We're paying right now $29 a ton to run the ore through our own mill. The recoveries we were getting while toll milling were anywhere from, at best, 91% at best. We're getting recoveries 93 and 94%. So not only do we get a drop in unit cost, but we get an improvement on recoveries that it will flow into our all-in sustaining costs. Again, we don't have any guidance on AISC, but we're going to be putting it out here in the very near future as part of the big changes that we're putting out. But we're certainly targeting below $1,000 an ounce. How are we doing it? Not only do we take advantage of the mill and those lower costs, but we're going to be aggressively looking at our top 20 vendors. This is something I've done 4 other times in my career where I approach the top 20 vendors and we work a partnership with them and buy in bulk. Instead of buying for one asset, we're buying for 2. It's important that we actually physically have that meeting with them and we actually come up with solutions to reduce our spending with them and have a longevity with them. Personnel, I've talked about it myself, new CEO, a new management team, new GMs on the property. We're already seeing the benefits of it. Not only is turnover rate improving, productivity rates have increased by at least 30% underground. And it is also a function of having the same miners coming back day in, day out. One of the other low-hanging fruits we have at least is royalties. We have 2 large royalty holders, one at Beta Hunt, which is Mavericks, and the other one at Higginsville, which is Morgan Stanley. We're opening discussions with them to see what we can come that's mutually beneficial for both companies, that we can reduce some of these royalties. They're quite extensive. And then G&A. G&A costs are something that I'm very focused on myself. What I've looked at and assessed already identifies that there's an opportunity to reduce the G&A costs. This is just a long section here of the actual location of where we had the discovery on the weekend. If you look at this long section and you look at the 16 and 15 level, is there a pointer on here? No pointer. The Father's Day discovery, which happened about a year ago, yielded about 30,000 ounces. Directly below it, 25 meters, was that 1,000 ounces. In between Father's Day and that 1,000 ounces is a drill hole that has over 1,400 grams. I spoke to Graham, the managing director there, and I said, look, we're going to likely take this out of sequence and maybe put a bypass drifter. Why aren't we taking this out? And then on the weekend, we had this call, that I got a call on Saturday night that said we had another discovery further along strike. And then it's had me thinking, well, why would we take them out of sequence? It's going to cost us more to drive the bypass on the upper level, the bottom level, and then to fill it with concrete. It's just going to cost us more. It'll increase our AISC. So it makes sense to take a breath, step back, and continue mining along strike, because that's what we're doing right now. We're mining, we're drifting along strike within this geologic formation where we've hit the Father's Day, 30,000, the 1,000 ounces below. Just south of Father's Day, 160 meters, 1,500 ounces. Another 160 meters, 1,750 ounces. As I was mentioning before, we're making sure we focus at mining this at the average grade. These high-grade specimens and discoveries come right to the bottom line, and that's going to be a game changer and what will separate us out from the rest of the pack. So, I see I'm running out of time, so I'll keep it short to rate that. But in closing, I just want to say the company has gone through so much change in the first 60 days. I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do next in the next while, but it's really now about buttoning down and doing what we do best in mining. And I'll open it up for questions.
Over the past couple of weeks, there's been some criticism, some popular online blogs, Secret Alpha, ICANN, regarding your data on the project. How do you respond to that?
Look, I think in any of those blogs you're going to find some critics, and we have a lot of retail shareholders. There's no doubt about that. The only thing we can do for our shareholders is make sure we remain squarely focused on what we're doing. We just got to deliver. Actually, there's nothing else we can do but deliver. I don't know how else to answer for that. Thanks for the question. Yeah.
In terms of sales, are you developing a market on collectors and hunters?
So the question is, in terms of sale, are we developing a market around collectors? Is that the question? Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Father's Day, maximum sales for collectors.
Yeah, so we have in the past sold quite a few specimens, and there was a reason for that as well. We didn't have a mill. Right now we have a mill. We found nuggets again on the weekend. Our focus is going to be converting those into doré. There is a market for some specimens. I'm not in the business of mining collectible rocks. I'm in the business of producing gold, and I've really got to focus on that for my shareholders. And I think that's what's going to create the best value for them, rather than me trying to hoard some of the nicest specimens in the world. I really see that more as a distraction than an actual objective that I should be focusing on. Sure.
Do you anticipate issuing any more shares?
I do not. At this point, look, we have the advantage of having this financing that puts us in a very strong, healthy position. It is something we absolutely did need to do. Nobody likes any dilution, not me either. I participated in the financing. I take a lot of my own personal net worth into this company in shares. I understand that dilution can be dilutive. In this case, I believe the dilution was necessary and it's accretive. Actually, the mill was accretive. What we're doing and the steps that we're taking will continue to add value. And this isn't the first time I've done it. This is something that I'm going to repeat, and hopefully we have the similar results. The only difference this time is I got gold on in my wind and my sails. Last time we did this, gold was $1,100 an ounce. We have the huge benefit of having gold behind us. So thank you for the question.